Hello and welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour for August 10th, 2018. I'm Dave Slusher. I'm joined with my colleagues Andrew Barnes and Chuck Tomasi. And welcome to the best way to decompress if you're a ServiceNow developer. The tradition that really actually, like the weeks when it doesn't happen or it happens and I'm not involved, it just doesn't feel like the right boundary from week to weekend.
It's
so
like
anyway,
you missed your dental checkup and now your teeth are all gross.
something feels wrong. It's like you're missing part of the ritual. So let us go around the horn. We'll go in alphabetical order this time, and we'll start with Andrew. Let's give the longer bios.
Hey. Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Barnes. I am a ServiceNow customer at Novant Health. I run the ServiceNow team there and been on the platform for about 4 years. And so super excited to not miss out on a live code happy hour on the weekend because I want to transition in right.
All right. And Chuck.
Hey, my name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior TPMM at ServiceNow. Been on the platform for almost 10 years. And I am so eager to get to the weekend. I jumped ahead a few time zones. I'm in Michigan this weekend. So I'm on Eastern time zone where it actually is happy hour as opposed to 1:30 in the afternoon for me at my house.
And I'm Dave Slusher. I'm a developer advocate with the platform business unit here at ServiceNow, developer.servicenow.com. If you don't have an account and if you don't have a personal developer instance, I don't know why you wouldn't. You should. So anyway, what we're going to do this week, we're going to continue right where we left off last week with Andrew's development process. Do you have a name for the tool?
Build Tracker.
Build Tracker. I don't know why that eludes me so much. Build Tracker is the thing, and all this kind of goodness. As somebody whose job it is to maintain, and control what a bunch of other developers do. I mean, like part of your job, as I understand it, you mentor other developers. You kind of make sure developers are doing what they need to do, and this is the classic thing where you have a problem and you're building a solution to fix it.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, before we get to that, though.
Libations.
Same order. What you drinking, Andrew?
All right. Today, I've got a Four Saints. That's the way it goes. Four Saints is a local brewery here in North Carolina. It's about 30 minutes south of my town, even. I'm pretty excited about it.
All right. Chuck?
As I mentioned, I'm here in Marquette, Michigan, so it's only fitting that I have a local beer. This is from the Ordoc Brewing Company, the Saison Belgian-style ale. I think I had something similar last night on tap, but I can't be certain.
And I'm going very, very much not local to me. I've got a fine Anchor Steam, although it was local to me when I went to GitHub Universe last year. And our Airbnb, to walk from our Airbnb to the Whole Foods required walking directly past the Anchor Steam Brewery right there.
Oh, very nice.
So anyway, with that, let us turn off our cameras and share Andrew's screen and let us begin. Are you going to pick the thing, or are we going to go improv style again? You want to pick the first one?
So I'm going to pick the thing, but we're going to pick up right where we left off from last week first. So if we go to our Todoist, which is somewhere around here, here we are. So our Todoist, I did not adjust my screen ratio. I'm actually going to stop sharing for just 1 second because that will make the whole show better if I downgrade
we did actually get some comments last week from somebody. I honestly don't know. We got somebody saying last week that they couldn't read some of the text, and honestly, like I went back and looked at it, and I suggested they look at 1080p if it didn't automatically default to that. But it looked readable to me. But okay. But that is a thing. Let's pay attention to that this week and try to make it maybe blow up one more than we did last time.
Okay, sure. So last week we ended. Just to catch us up again. So our update set build tracker, what it does is it has a relationship between a task and an update set. And we track those tasks in production. Mostly they're against stories. And then you can have one or many update sets for any given story. And it creates those in our dev environment and then allows you to track the progress of those update sets through the environments, as well as batching any multiple amounts of update sets for that same story. Where we left off last week was the creation step. We wanted to make the name convention for the update set name to be configurable. And we ended on a failure because we used the wrong field name. So let's get back to that and pull that up real quick, which is we'll go to our stories table, open up a story. Then down here at the bottom, we've got this update set tracker. And when I hit new, so we reverted back to, so this was a good case of the reasons that we did something, which was a modal and sending data, multiple things of data. When we got downgraded on what we were trying to send through the UI action, and the only thing we needed to send was the parent field data, that Chuck put us right in line real quick and said, hey, you can just go back to using the regular new button now. And so we did that. So this is no longer a modal, and it's not using a custom new button anymore, which is great. We like that part. But as you can see, we did actually get the name built as we set in the configuration from last week. And the only difference being U underscore task parent versus U underscore parent task. I don't remember which one's the right way. So U task parent's the right way, and we had it U parent task.
Oh, it's always the simple ones that get you.
That'll get you every time if you use the wrong field in your script. So that part's working. So now we can mark that off. All right, here, configurable name convention. That's done. Now we can configure that with the system property, and it will do that for us. So as one of our viewers caught that and sent me a message right after the show and said, hey, I think you used the wrong field name. I went and adjusted it, and it worked. So that part was great. So now we can go back to our list and see what's the next thing we want to do. I think I want to target something that actually caused us an issue at my work, which is the update set builder for a release. I apparently didn't take into account removing something from the release after the update set had been built. So I think that'll be something that I would like for work purposes definitely to get fixed. The moving of things is super tricky. And the full sync is something that I'd like to do after the remove. And the collision for multi-edits, I don't even know how I'm going to do that one yet. So unless there's some thoughts on something other than this, I'd like to go ahead and target this, the update set for release builder to also be able to remove things.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
So let's move that one to the top. We're doing that one. So let me show you what it looks like, and then what we want to have happen. So on a release, we have our stories related to our release. And when it comes time to actually, get ready to, do the release. So when the start time's coming along, we've got this UI action for build release update set. And it works very similarly to the to the update set creation for stories, but it's got a little bit more logic and power behind it, because what it does is it will go create a update set in your staging instance as opposed to your dev instance. And it will then do a search for any of the update sets that are in any of the stories that are in that release and batch them all together. So we've created this release update set in our batching instance. So our dev instance, I believe, is this 647. The 461 is our batching one, and we are in 5.1 for production. So if we open this up, this is the update set that's created to be the parent. Oh, really? It didn't work? Nice. Well, that's awesome. I didn't test that earlier, but that's fine. So it's supposed to, in this instance, which is 46135, create an update set.
So Andrew, if you go back to what you just clicked a second ago, it says update set is null. So when it says update set is null, it's supposed to create. Is that the deal? Or is that bad data on the original?
That's bad data. So that means the thing returned from the target system was
okay.
It didn't return a sysid.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, create would be sysid equals -1. Easy to spot.
Right. So this is the return I got was empty, and I'm not even sure that's the right instance. So what's supposed to happen, which it works. I don't know why it's not working. Is that it'll create a single update set. It'll be in an in-progress update set, and it will do that search for any update sets that are in this instance that belong in that release to set their parent field to be this update set.
Mm-hmm.
And that all works fine, except for when it's broken. I actually used it at work today to build our release for next week, and it works like a champ. But what we ran into was after we had built the release update set, someone pulled a story out of the release.
Oh, okay.
And so this button accommodates pressing it again to add new items. But what it doesn't do is address the removal.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of ways that we can possibly target it. So the way that the build tracker actually manages the setting of the parent field for an update set is based off of a field on the update set. It should be, where's parent? Not task parent. It's update parent. I'm just zoomed in too much. There it is. Update parent. So if you have an update parent, which is a reference to another build tracker record. So these are, pointing at other build tracker records. And in this case, we have that this story's update set gets the releases update set record. And so it would have tried to set the story 100115 it's update set parent to the releases update set and create a batch. So probably what we need to do, and you can, and this can even be a manually intervention. So it's can be different than hitting that build release. So if we just choose a different one, it will go reach out to that instance and try and do that. So if we set that, it kicks off an asynchronous process to go to your batching system and try and make what you just told it to do a reality. So I think we might need to just tell it to. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to target the release changing on a story, or to do something via a UI action. Y'all got any feedback on that?
I would start it as a UI action just so we can test it manually, and then you can, build it into a business rule to do it automated later.
I'm not. This is one of those things. I'm not 100% sure you even want it automated, because it's kind of a thing you want to. For the longest time, I've been very sketchy about setting up automated bill pays. People were like, "It's so convenient." I was like, "Yes, but I want that to be inconvenient when the money flows away from me." So this is like a weird situation. So you may not want it to be too automated, but I don't know. That's really a thing to think about. You may want to actually have to take that deliberate step to make this happen.
So let's just dive into the UI action and see what we have there, and see what jumps out at us. So build release updates it. Build release notes is actually pretty great too. All it does is goes and grabs the short description of all your stories, the theme therein, and builds you a nice little description that we're using for our release notes on our service portal. Which fun.
It implies that you need everyone must have discipline in naming and actually putting sensible descriptions on everything.
Right.
Yes. There is some discipline to be had there. And when folks don't have that discipline, then after you build the release notes, you go and do a little manual edit there. All right. So let's take a look at what we have in here. I'm trying to remember what we have. I wanted to make sure it's definitely big enough. Is that big enough? All right. So let's see. We've got build release, form button. All right. So looks like we just run this server-side code. So yeah, there's no client-side stuff here. All right. So for sure, we get the release updates that are created. So we're not going to need to mess with that because that part's working fine. Here's the area that we're going to need to target, which is query for all the Scrum tasks and stories in this release, and then set their you update parent appropriately. So I think what we might want to do is, so first we really want to see who already has this, and if they're no longer valid ones, remove it from them. So that's why this was just doing additions, because it just queries for all of the ones that are valid ones and adds it. But it doesn't do anything to any of the ones that are invalid that already have it.
Gotcha.
And do we want to, so we'll probably want to do that afterwards. We need to do a negative query.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of before or after, because you could wipe the values, but you need to know which ones to wipe the values from to get all of them,
right? And
then reset them here, or you could do it after if you knew which ones didn't belong.
So what I can do is say, so these are all the conditions in which it should have them. Right. And I basically need to reverse most of them in order to get the opposite ones.
Well, you don't want that to jump all over your existing records, though.
What do you mean by that, Chuck?
If you've got 100 records and this query turns up 10, do you really want to? And so let's say 2 of them didn't belong. Okay, that leaves 88 that you don't want to mess with.
Oh, right. I mean, so I want the negative ones and where they have this release set.
But they won't have that. Oh, okay. I think I see. I was gonna say what if they didn't have that release set? This is one of those. I'm doing the Venn diagram in my head.
Yeah. So what we want to do is query the update set tracker table, and the first thing we want to query is that they have their update parent set to this guy. That's the very, very first thing that we care about, because we only want the ones in which this release has actually got set. Then we want to find the ones that shouldn't belong and remove them. And we're going to change our name here for sure. Let's go to not not in the release. Remove release. That's good enough for now. And we need a whole line up. So the next thing we need to do is start to build that negative query, essentially. So we want so we're going to break up our encoded query. So the thing I actually like to do, and the thing I teach all the time, is go to the list view and see what you want to see first. Work that out, and then go do it in the script. So we don't have a lot of them here, so it'll be a little harder to visualize it. But the very first thing we want to do is have multiple of these records and have them all set, or have some of them set with the same parent. So we've got 2 that are set to the same parent. So in this case, we're going to say these are who we're looking for, is they've got the release set as their parent. That's
the add query you just wrote by hand.
That's that add query.
Yeah.
And then I want to the trickier part for this is I'm dot walking a lot of values to get to the data of, is this in the release or not? So there's a field on these guys that say which task they're on. And so we need to go see if this task that these guys are related to is in the release or not. And then, and if they're not in the release, we want to remove their update parent.
Okay.
So assuming this one is not in the release, we want to clear this out. Just exit out. No more. So we need to say, let's go get add encoded query.
Missing an N.
You're missing an N. You got encoded query.
Yeah, I sure do.
That's why 6 eyes are better than 2.
There we go. All right. So update parent is empty isn't important for this context because update parent's going to be this guy. So that part is irrelevant. You task parent the stories release, and we're going to want it not to be that.
Do you want it not to be that, or do you want it to be empty?
I want it to not be that.
Okay, that's where I start to question: are you going to get too many records?
Well, I shouldn't get too many records because this will restrict me to.
Okay, yeah, you've already predicated on that. Okay.
So I should should be well scoped by that point. So the stories release is not my release. Now, when we start to get into these ors, that's when nodding is going to get trickier.
De Morgan's theorem to the rescue.
De Morgan's will come and get you. And sometimes save you and sometimes not in ServiceNow land.
Oh, it always works for Boolean logic. Your logic just has to be right. And since there's no parentheses, it gets a little weird. Changed.
All right. So this next one says that the UTask parent Scrum tasks stories release is the release ID. Okay. So, do I need to change my and to an or to an and?
So your current encoded query says A or B or C, and you want to negate the whole thing? Or are you looking for individuals?
I think I want individual nots.
Okay. Then try reading it to yourself. A is not equal to 1.
But that's going to give me successes. Yeah.
If you and these, then all 3 need to be true for it to return a record for you. Does that sound like what you need?
I want to make sure it's not one of these 3 things.
Okay.
Yeah, then you've got ors, or
so
not,
I need
or
to
not,
do a
or
not.
not. Yeah.
Essentially, to the ands.
Well, you have 2 ways. I mean, it's the same. It works out the same whether you're oring 3 knots or you're knotting 3, like doing a total not parentheses A and B and C is, I think, logically the same as not A or not B or not C.
That's correct. That's De Morgan's theorem.
Yep. Yeah, but unfortunately, you can't put a not at the start of an encoded query.
Correct.
You can't. I don't know that. So I've never fooled around with that. You can't negate a parenthesized section inside an encoded query, or you're just saying you can't begin it with it.
You can't. There's no parentheses, so there's no order of precedence.
There's no parentheses. So
Stephen Bell just wrote a great article on this on the community, all about glide record insights.
So what I need is, we're going to write it out just a little bit logically for us, so we don't get too deep. So release for the stories release, the scrums release. What's the other one we got in here? UTask parents parent. Yeah. Okay. And generic task release.
This is usually where I go down and break out a function and test the heck out of that function to make sure it returns what I want.
So it's easy when I want to check, is it in this or this or this? Yay. Yeah. But saying, is it in not this or not this or not this will always return true. So that's not valuable. Can I do nots and ands and get what I want?
In one query.
In one query. Does that make sense though? So it's not. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's what I want is just anding them all with knots. So that's what I'm going with for now. So we need basically all this. All right. Did I miss a quote somewhere? Release. Why are you not happy with me quote wise?
Oh, you have a quote right after first release ID.
First release ID. This one. There we are.
So you want to take the ORs out.
And take the ORs out.
Read it to yourself with a sample sys-ID and see if it comes out the way you want.
So we want to check, and we can even do this in the list view here. We want to check that the task parent is not, that the release is not blah and not blah and not blah. And if it's one of those, yeah, I think that'll be okay. Feels right. All right. So the stories release is not release ID. Oh, I didn't put in my knots for the second and third one.
There you go.
There we go. So my story release is not this, and the Scrum tasks release is not that, and the parents release is not that.
Which will return true for any record that doesn't, but that matches that condition, which I think that sounds like you're on the right track.
Yeah. Feels right. We're going to have to set up a scenario to actually test. Oh, thank you for being helpful. But so I didn't need it that one time.
I know. I get that all the time.
But thank you, Script Field, for trying to be helpful. I wanted to replace, but
it's even more fun when Visual Studio starts guessing what you want. It's like, no, I want gs.getProperty. No, you want it glad. No, I want gs.getProperty. Stay out of my way.
So I want to clear it out. And so this is the tricky logic here is why I was thinking if I change the release, that's maybe where I wanted to do it on a BR for the task itself. If your release changes, check to make sure you don't need to update your tracker. But we'll give this a whirl. So we'll need to set up a scenario in which it's, it actually has something to do. So let's go ahead and make a couple of stories have update sets and build it real quick. Stories. So this one has got one. Yeah. So we'll go to the next one and give it a 2. We'll place this in the release. Make one. Go ahead and make a second because it's fun. All right. So now this has got 2 tracker records. We'll put it into a release. And make sure that release is the same as the other release, which I think it is. Yep, they're both 8.1 release. And so now when I build this on the release record,
you should get both.
I should get both. And then when I remove one, hopefully it will clear it out. Let's take a look. All right, so
28.
Did we set? Doesn't look like we only set one of them. Let's come on. Let's clear them all out just to make sure nothing's hanky. All right, build. I probably should fix that UI action to stay on the page. All right. There was a little hankiness going on. So the query in there actually says don't overwrite one
if it's already populated.
If it's already populated.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. You don't want to botch the ones that are already there.
So this set them. So now, presumably, if we go to one of these and remove the release. Save it. The trackers for this guy, which these three, we can go off this one right here. Hopefully should clear out. That's our hope. Oh, and of course, I don't have the release on there anymore, so and no dice.
Check the error logs.
No dice for us today.
Nothing damaging there.
Just now. Nothing jumping out.
Okay.
That's too far away, so
yeah.
Nope. So was our query in error?
Here's a question. Why don't you want to log or info message the query to build it, echo it, and then call it?
Well, so we can even do one better is we can drop this. Actually,
you're gonna. Well,
so
are you thinking like extracting that one thing and then just run it from scripts background, something like that?
Yeah, and then debug it.
Okay, that
in
is
the debugger.
Perfectly.
UI action script side stuff, is that synchronous? So that's debuggable.
That's debuggable. Easy. Put a breakpoint on.
So I should just be able to debug it. See what it gets.
Let's do that.
Will the debugger tell you what your encoded query is? What your overall query is?
It doesn't. It'll just show you that you didn't get anything, essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
just separate that out. Just assign it to a variable one line above, and then you'll be able to look at the value of the variable in the debugger.
Say that again a little slower for those of us not.
So just take your whole value of your adding coded query.
Yeah.
Cut it.
Sure. Assign it to a variable.
Assign it to a variable.
Query string.
Remove query.
And you'll need one single quote at the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All the colors are looking pretty good there, and then
and then just put your remove query back in there, and then you can look at it in the debugger.
That is not the right place.
No. It's one line above.
Yeah.
The end of it.
I was like,
right
where did it go? That's why I didn't actually have a carriage return there. No wonder. I was like, this is not the right place for that. That does not accept any parameters.
It's going to be looking for a callback function. It's going to get all confused. Andrew, you just confused everybody.
All right, debugger. We love the debugger. I don't know that it's going to show us anything good here, but I just like running it. Here it is. Sure, why not? Love to. Build. Hello there, little friend. Where is your stuff on the side?
Where's the whole right-hand window?
Can it
expand? Expand it a little bit.
It was there when you started.
There it is. All right. You have to zoom out a little. It won't let you zoom in that much.
Yeah, apologize to anybody who has to squint to read this, but the CSS is going to relay it out if it gets too big. So kind of have to play the hand we're dealt on this.
All right. So right now that should just be metadata. Yeah. And remove query is actually the one we care about, which is there. So we've got our query string. And what I believe...
We got the string, but does it have valid release ID and everything in it? It should, because release ID was set above.
Oh, goodness.
That's not a draggable. It is draggable.
Come on, little guy. No,
it should be draggable. It's not.
It looks like it wants to be draggable, but doesn't actually move.
Put that in for Madrid.
There we go. So we've got our release
Okay.
string in there.
Yeah, and there's release ID right above, so we can verify those match.
Good.
Yep.
Valid. Just metadata, and I'm assuming we're going to get jump
0.
right down to line 29. Yeah. So it said that didn't return any results. So there's something wrong with our query.
Is that string selectable out of there? Can you copy? Okay,
I was just gonna, copy it, run it again.
Copy it so that we can just run that
from a sysparm query.
Yeah.
Yeah. Transaction paused. Step down once.
Click.
There we go.
I'm not sure if I've ever tried to. It seems like it ought to be because it's just HTML at that point. I don't think I've ever tried to do that, but it.
Copy a couple lines. Don't worry about being exact, but just copy a couple lines and you can edit it in an editor.
All right, there we go. So let's grab that. We'll just go ahead and this has just been reloaded, so I'll just paste it there. Grab all of this, and to the background we go. And we'll just remove.
You got to get some quotes in there on adding coded query.
Yeah. You get a quote.
Just one at the end.
One at the end. All right. We're going to need to change this to be the sysid of our release, which we have in there, which is this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the thing to see some obvious flaw, and I'm not seeing it.
So release is not equal to that.
And not equal to that. And
not equal to that. And not equal to that.
Now, going with what we had, and this is the working query in the positive direction, right? So we know that all the little fields and all the dot walk are correct.
Yes.
That works
they do work. Yeah. They build it fine.
Not equal to.
Why did I want to bring this over to background script?
To run it, see how many records you got, debug it. I don't know.
It's going to return 0. We're pretty sure of that already.
Well, can you tear it down to just one of those and say, okay, is any part of this broken?
They're all just stories, so we could just cut this part. And I'll store this over to the side. And just see what we get here.
Still missing a quote.
Oh, yeah, because I cut it.
Yeah.
Good catch there. All right, so we could, give a little log here.
Or put one right before your while loop and just do a gsinfo get row count on there.
Yeah. Remove, release, get row count.
I love it when I don't have to say the details.
And let's say we want
to. What I mean?
How many? Background script. Release.
What's the comma for?
To set the source.
Oh, okay.
I spelled it wrong, but that's fine.
You need more beer.
0. How many?
Okay, we kind of guessed that. How many do you get without the encoded query part? Comment that third line out.
So and we have a story that does not have that as the release in the data.
Yes, we do.
Okay, it's going to update. I don't know if you want to comment out your.
Still 0.
That's interesting.
That's not right.
That's disturbing. Yeah.
That's disturbing because there are records in that table that have that release.
You may think
wait.
so.
Is that the right? That's the wrong. So that was my fault. I copied the wrong sysid.
Okay.
That was entirely my fault. Where is somebody give me the release sysid?
Wasn't the query also using release ID?
So the query is using the tracker's release ID.
Okay.
And I needed the actual release ID.
All right.
In this, so the release. So this should be the same thing. Excellent. But the tracker's sysid is what I need in that top one.
Okay.
This thing. This one's sysid is what needs to go at the top query here. So that's why we were getting 0 for sure.
Okay. Do you want to comment on your SR update? Just so it doesn't irrevocably damage your data so you can test it more.
That seems useful. All right. So now we're going to query for roughly the correct thing, which is you update parent is the update parent appropriately, and the release is not that release. That should return us what we were looking for. 3? I think we were looking for 3. No. Now I'm just confused.
All right. Again, comment out the add encoded query. Let's see if you get any records from just the add query. When in doubt, make it as simple as possible.
And that one should give us 5.
Okay.
Because it should give us all of them. So it should give us all but one of them.
So they're all pointing to
this.
Parent
so this column here, it should return 5
okay.
of them. Doesn't return itself. So that's our expectation is with this query, that should give us 5 things. SR doesn't exist, which is fine. That part's fine. That might be why it's broken.
Well, it still doesn't tell you why it was returning 0.
But 5 is correct.
It got into the loop. That's telling you
got into the loop.
Okay. And then you take it back out and you can get 0.
And that should be there.
You're a
just one
man
of them.
editing in Script's background.
Okay. So this will give us 0 again, is our expectation. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Do
we call that a success? Because we met our expectation.
Oh, no. I just didn't think it would suddenly magically be good.
No.
So why isn't this query working?
So that we have narrowed it down to that exact thing right there.
Well, how about
throw that into a list and see what you get.
What do I get here? 0 still. All right. So definitely the add encoded query is unhappy. So let's take that like Chuck says and actually just go to here and throw that in there. So we can actually perform that query right here. We can build it or we could just paste it. Let's build it though. So task parent, we need some related fields here, people. New instances. Task parent, task fields. So we're trying to get to, what's this one in particular, is the stories release. Story fields, release is our release.
Is not our release.
It's not this release.
Okay. Oh.
No.
What happened?
No. How about I just click you? It's this one. 8.1
8.1
is
display value.
Display name.
Okay. Copy that query.
Why?
Oh, it's
why?
still 0.
That's not. I'm not okay with the results there.
Okay.
Well, why? Stories. What's going on, stories? Where's our release?
There are a whole bunch that don't have 8.1. What the heck?
So should be this guy, right? This is the one that's not in that release. So the trackers for this should be the.
Well, it should return a whole bunch that because you said I don't care anything else. It's just who doesn't have.
Yeah, I'm not querying the story table though.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
querying the tracker table for records. So I wasn't querying the story table directly. That's why we don't get all of them. We just get all of the trackers related to stories that aren't in that release. But this one's clearly not in that release. So this is going to be a null query issue is my assumption. And the way I'm going to prove it is by choosing 8.2 and running it again. And somewhere around here, I have the background. I think I lost it.
There
No,
it is.
here it is. Yes. So the not equal to query when the entry is empty doesn't match.
Do you want an is empty?
And does that make sense what I just said? Do I need to clarify?
What if you do so do you want to find it if it's either empty or a value that's not the
8.1 in this case, yeah.
That particular release. So you may have to make all those two things be that or empty.
Right. So that's
odd because a null value is not what you're looking for. And you said, I want to find the records that are not equal to what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so but if you do that here, it does the same thing.
Is that fundamentally a glide thing?
That's
is that
fundamentally
null? If you do a does not equal X, null
so you see
does not match that because null is not the same as a value that's
So even when you do this from the picker to say, filter out, it throws in the release is not null for you automatically.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Hey,
back in my load testing days, I used to see a lot of those things of this form, but I don't know that I ever tied the pieces together that is doing that because a null's not going to null's not going to match a negative query.
The and or that release is null. And we can even where were we? I was gonna do it on the actual tracker table. I had that up. Here it is. So or empty. Run it. Get our results.
Shouldn't one of those have been filtered out, though?
That's troublesome.
I think your OR is getting both now.
That's a troublesome result. That is not the results I expect because that is not. I do not believe this. But let's go look. Let's just go make sure. I've got 8.1 and 8.2, so I should only be getting the 8.2s or the empties. I should not be getting the 8.1 ones, and I'm getting the 8.1s, and I'm not okay with that. So somehow in this dot walking, it's returning me things I don't want.
Huh. Out of curiosity, change that to 8.2 and rerun it. Let's just see what in the heck that does.
Yeah, I believe it didn't change.
It's
No,
a union. It's getting
3,
everything for some
6.
reason.
Can you add the release to what we're looking at? To the
Not really. No.
Don't you want an and instead of an or on there, Andrew? You're looking for the records that are not 8.1 and
then
not
I'd want is empty, not.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd want not 8.2 or is empty.
Or are you trying
and is empty.
But then that won't find ones that have been moved to a different parent.
Yeah, it should. Oh, yeah. No, you can't do an and. Yeah, that would be.
And if you're saying and, then you're a literal. Yeah.
This happens every time, man. It gives me a hurty brain.
This query is troubling me that it's returning these results. Like I'm not okay with these results. What we're seeing is not a reflection of this. That's not okay.
It's not 8.1 or empty. That means it must be
anything, or it is empty.
So I would say, so it looks to me like all the empty ones and 8.2 should be showing up. That's what it looks like.
Yes, that's what should be showing up, but everything's showing up, including 8.1.
And for a second, get rid of the is empty and rerun it, and you don't get the 8.1s with that. You get nothing.
Okay.
And if you do just the empty by itself,
and if I do the 8.2s,
you get nothing. But just do test parent agile story release is empty.
Did I walk improperly? I did. I walked improperly. I'm sorry.
You did a silly walk?
Well, we have more than one story table in instances.
Oh. You did agile story? You wanted what?
And I wanted Scrum
story.
So we need to go back to tracker fields, then go down to story, task, parent, story, and I don't even have the choice. That's a problem.
Is it because that field isn't on task? It's on a subclass?
Well, I mean, that is coming from a subclass, so it should have been fine. Agile story is a subclass too.
Okay.
And so release story is not 8.2. These are 8.1s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's angry at me because it doesn't believe that these exist in this instance, apparently. But I believe that now we know why it's returning it returned them all when we had empty, because that field was empty for all of them. And that's okay. Now I'm okay with it because we were doing a bad query. We were
So
querying,
was that back into the original encoded query that we were using included that mistake, or
no, sir. The encoded
That's-
query is actually correct.
Hmm.
So this encoded query is actually correct. We just need to add in what we were trying to do in the list view, but we couldn't do because you can't do it with the condition builder in this instance because it doesn't think that RM story exists. Which, okay, fine.
So what happens if you copy? I still think copy and paste that up into a sysparm query and see what it comes up with.
I did.
It should build the filter for you.
That's what I just did.
Oh, okay.
I did that.
Okay. So
and you can see here it did not. It's not.
Gave up.
It's not happy with that. It runs the query. The system actually does the right things, but it can't represent it.
That's wacky.
And that's an artifact between having a clean instance and a not clean instance. So on my instances, which are old, not clean instances, you can walk it because the plugin for the original story table, the RM story table, was installed and exists, and that doesn't exist on this clean instance.
Is that's not the system property to show fields in extended tables, is it?
It might be, but it was showing. So the task parent. So it was doing the story one for me.
Right, but those are fields on. Those are task fields.
Story is a task field now?
No, well, it's. I don't know if that task is a story task or a task. I don't know what table that is.
I guess that's possible. So yeah, that could be why it's not doing that. Is because you're right, Chuck. So what should be here, and what's here when you have that property is that whole list of all of the extended tables from task that you can drill down through, and the story. The Agile story one being here threw me off because I guess that's a new thing. That's a new field.
I don't know that that's a field on task. Is that something you made?
No.
Is it a U underscore?
That is the unified backlogs field that I'm putting money on this. And I just have to go validate it now because that's just a thing I'm gonna have to do is go validate that that exists on task now when you add the unified backlog.
Oh, you think it got turned on with a plugin?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was this? It was Agile.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. So this was $5 says this was added by the unified backlog plugin, which is awesome in London. In case you haven't seen it and played with it, that's a unified backlog's a thing. So yeah, so you're right, Chuck. We can't dot walk to those in the condition builder because of that property, but we can still do it in
you could turn that property on,
the scripting.
Can you turn that property
sure.
on?
We certainly can.
Okay.
I was going to go ahead and finish our query though.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
For the null. Is empty. Is it just capital is empty?
Is empty. Yeah.
Is empty. All right. Or is empty. And so we expect this to give us a non-zero number and not a 5. That's the best I can do right now.
Somewhere between 0 and 5. 3 is between 0 and 5. We win.
I'll allow it. So this should be capable of going here, take it right about here, and plop it in. All right. That's 4, but
it's also not qualified with that.
Oh, it's not. That's why this one's here. Okay. is because it doesn't show itself. Very
You
good.
just gave it half of that. So that is actually expectation. That you got
This is expectation is 3. So this task is in the other release. Yeah. So that's exactly what we want.
All right.
Are we at wrap up time? Good gracious.
We are at wrap up time. So really and truly kind of the thing that confounded us was that that kind of default necessity to check against empty or a value.
Yes.
That's wacky.
Yeah, I mean,
when you start doing not equals, it really gets you.
That's a principle of least surprise violation, in my opinion, because you would expect null to match not a value.
I wonder how that's. It'd be curious to turn on debug SQL and see what's actually being sent.
All right.
That is an interesting exercise that we could do.
We can pursue in the future.
Today.
Try with one, try with both, and compare them. But yep, do it another time. Another day, another exercise.
All right. So hardest part of this whole thing is finding where to turn my camera back on.
I thought I was trying to sign off.
Skype.
And I was
Skype
really
is like
trying
playing whack-a-mole with
not
a
to
UI.
be super confusing today, and I think I did not succeed.
All right, gentlemen. So no, that was interesting. So really and truly, that's a really valuable insight.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know that because I certainly don't do I don't do encoded query stuff that much.
I do several times. But I haven't
every
run
day.
into that.
I run into that at about every other month.
Well, I think, Andrew, this is because of your not only best practice, but your like slavish devotion to the fact that you use it in the list builder, and then you get that encoded query. You have been hoist on your own petard. Whereas if you were doing it other ways, it wouldn't be quite as you wouldn't have this necessity. I don't think. Now here's the question: is that a function of encoded query? Right, because if we do the same query not encoded but don't check against null, we're probably going to get what we expect.
Are you thinking of just like an add query with the 3 parameters? You say value not equals something else?
Correct. That's
another interesting exercise.
That's an experiment. Is this a function of encoded?
That sounds like
only?
an experiment for 2 weeks when we come back.
Yeah, exactly. No show next week. I will not be able to. But let's quickly go around the horn. So that was actually interesting stuff that we. So now we've got this kind of matrix of what does what we expect and what doesn't do what we expect. I will actually be heartened. So I'm going to backtrack a little of my stuff. If this is a function of encoded query, this actually makes more sense to me. Because now I can begin to see that. Whereas, like, just if all comparisons don't match, then that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
So, okay, Andrew, how do you feel about your beer?
That's the way it goes from Four Saints. This is an excellent Gosa. It's either a 4.25 or 4.5. I mean, it's excellent. Like this is a go-to Gosa.
All right. All right, gonna pin you down. Pick one.
4.5.
4.5. Bold. All right. Strong statement. All right, Chuck, how do you feel?
The Ordok Brewing Company Saison is got good body, nice bite, full flavored. I'm going to give this a 3.75.
There you
nice.
Go. Anchor Steam, nice solid 4. So with that, again, as Andrew mentioned, no show next week. We will be back in 2 weeks with a problem of some form. Probably not this one. We'll probably let this one breathe a little bit, but we'll go to one of the other projects we have on cooking and see y'all in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.